quick update of the young birds starting to kit. They're all starting to stay together now. I had a few guys ask me if the young birds were kidding yet. So that's why I'm getting you guys a quick video. We do have one or two still that are kind of straggling a little bit. They're not all the way kidding with the group, but for the most part, they're trying to stay together. What's up, Jose? Just trying to train and trying to be ready for next year. Little by little every day. Hopefully I can get a kit together so I can compete with you guys. Right now I got like 12 birds out. I did have 15 in the kit, but I gave away 2 birds, and then I donated one to Sean for his son, the fundraiser. And then I gave another bird to Damien, so down to 11. But I have my next round coming out. It's about, I want to say about 10 birds in the next round, so I should have a full kit here soon. These guys are about to land. Let me get the food ready for them. Yeah, Jose, me and Jaime are just gonna have like a fun fly sometime next year, probably like in March, just like for a barbecue or something like that. It's not gonna be nothing too crazy. Just pretty much doing it to have fun. Win or lose, it's just to kind of get guys together. And then because I want to start flying again, I mean, it's a pretty good start for me just to kind of get back into it with you guys. They were trying to land right now, but still flying kind of low. What's up, Mike Jones? Yeah, Cooper Hawks right around this time of year, they're kind of rough over here too. But because I want to get these birds kidding real nice before I put anything away, like as far as lockdown for next year, I gotta try to keep pushing them so they can get it together. As you guys can see right there, they're still kind of like scared of each other. Like every time one leaves the kit and it gets close, they all get like spooked. But they're getting there. Next year, I'll probably put 2 more pairs down and breed out of 8 pairs total, just to kind of boost a little bit more of my numbers. That or get 2 more foster pairs. That way I can breed just a little bit more. But once I breed up 2 kits, then I'll go back to 6 pairs. I don't like to breed out of too many birds. I think it makes it too hard to keep track of everything. I was hoping they landed early today. Gotta go to work, but I chose to fly on before going to work today. Yeah, it kind of sucks when those coopers are sitting around waiting for you. I think the coopers can make it harder than the falcon at times, since the coopers hunt down low and they don't let the birds settle down. It makes them spooky as soon as they land. So yeah, Mike Parker, a bird a day is too much. You figure it takes about 45 days to get a baby out of the nest. So if you're losing a bird a day, it just kind of makes it hard, really hard. But I also am a firm believer that the smaller your numbers are, the less you attract the predator. Because the predator is actually smarter than we think. They know exactly where their food's at. So just like pigeons, they have landmarks to know how to come back home. Predators have landmarks where they go know where to go look for food. Um, Especially now, most guys have like sun cages and on their breeders and kit boxes. It just allows your birds to be jumping in and out all day. So when Cooper Hawks are flying by, they get to see all of that stuff. So they remember their landmarks where to go back and, make their runs to see if they can find any food. But nothing's for sure, so we just gotta keep trying. Good morning, Danny. Yeah, man, those, like I said, those Coopers and Predators, they're pretty smart. Yeah, Mike Parker, that's really my big goal, to one day try to compete at a high level in the World Cup. But in order to do that, you gotta have really, really good birds. Um, it goes way beyond just breeding a kit. You gotta breed the right kind of bird and all kinds of little things like that. But I think that's the goal for all of us birdmen, to be able to fly at the World Cup, with some good birds and be competitive. Mike Jones, I might have something for you. Um, I'm not sure if it'll be this year, but for sure coming into the year next year, I'll make sure to get you a nice red hen. Right now, my numbers are limited, so every bird kind of counts for me. And then because I have a few new pairs that I'm trying out, they're not new breeders, just new pairs that I've haven't bred together before. I want to see the birds for myself first before I let anyone take anything, because I want to make sure they're going to be good. Just because the parents are good doesn't always guarantee the babies are good. So I like to try to make sure, at least the percentages wise, before I let anything get out. I hope so, Mario, man. I'm trying hard, and then the way that I breed, and then most of the stuff that I've learned over the years, I've learned it from some of the best guys in the game. So hopefully I can put all of it together and be competitive one day. Yeah, man. That's cool that you're on your third year. It takes a few years to line everything up, actually. There's really no timing. If you're lucky, you'll get it done sooner. If you're good at it, you'll definitely get it done sooner. But to get the average line of birds to do what they're supposed to do can take between 3 and 6 years, just because of the way the birds are supposed to be developed, how long it takes to make good birds, and then by the time you select your good birds out of the air and they produce their babies and then you get their babies to come into the spin, you're looking at about 3 years, doing it right with no rush. And then you figure after that third year, once that second generation proves itself, then most likely you'll probably take some of those in. And then right around the 5 year mark is when 6 year mark is when you start producing some of your best birds, just because they all start becoming alike. So just a quick training tip, guys. I like my birds just to kind of hang out after they're done flying. It lets them relax, catch their breath. Even though they're not performing, they're young, so some of them get tired more than the rest. So you always want to give your birds a little rest when they come in. Thanks, Mike Parker. My birds, they have pretty good strength, and then I've been very selective on who I choose to breed from. So pretty much what you see is what my breeders have to offer. It's taken me a long time to get them to be kind of like the same, kind of how they are now. Mario Sanchez. I've been raising birds since this particular family since 2013. I used to have birds when I was young, when I was like maybe 10, 11 years old. And I used to have birds from a few different people when I was little in LA. And I remember when I was young, I always wanted to try to do good with birds. But you guys know it's not cheap having these birds, because you need to house them, you need feed, and you need all these extra things that when I was little I just couldn't afford it. So now that I can afford a little bit of it, I've been raising them for the last 8 years, still developing the family. The family of birds I fly is my family, and the only reason why I say it's my family is because I used one cockbird and maybe like 5 or 6 hens, and then I just developed my family off of those birds. And what makes them a family is that they're all related. It's not that they're off the same bird. There's a lot of relation in the birds. Like these two birds here, like this black and this red, they're like first cousins, but then they're also like uncle and niece because of the relation in the pedigree. So there's a lot of relation in the birds that makes them the same when it comes down to temperament, type, character, all that stuff. But my birds originate from the Steve Smith family. My birds have a lot of the Steve Smith blood that Steve was able to create his family with. Actually, my kit boxes are not small. They're 3 feet wide, 4 feet tall. Each bird has a 10-inch perch. So my boxes are actually considered big kit boxes. And no, they're not too hot. That's why I have my dowel fronts. They do get plenty of ventilation. And then the wire floors. I've been having these style kit boxes for 7 years now and never had a problem. You also don't want to have a wide open front for a lot of different reasons. My kit boxes are actually a little bit bigger than most people, and the reason why I like my kit boxes this way is because it gives the birds enough space and ventilation. So like when my doors are closed, my birds have enough space to fly up and down. This is 4 feet tall right here. That's really nice, Mike Parker. The tighter you keep your family, the better, because you don't have to deal with a lot of different style birds. But you also don't want to inbreed. Inbreeding can become a bad thing. Yeah, really nice. Jerry, Norm, and Keith London is a good combination. A lot of people have Norm Reed and Jerry Higgins birds. My birds actually go back to some of that bloodline as well. But it goes back to some of the old bloodline, like back from the 90s. Steve Smith was actually very good friends with Jerry Higgins and Norm Reed when they were at their best. And Steve Smith was able to hand select some of those birds from Jerry and Reed back in the 90s. So my birds do have a nice background. I just don't like to get into the pedigree talk because I don't think pedigrees do anything for anyone, or even where the birds come from. I think it's all a name. But then again, when you speak about Reed and Jerry, those two men were really good birdmen. They understood their birds. And that's why they were able to make their family and become so successful, I think. So I'm gonna go ahead, feed these guys a little bit. way you feed your birds is extremely important on how they're gonna react and how they're gonna perform together. So I try to keep a good close eye on how the birds are eating. The feed won't make your birds any better. It'll just help them perform the way they're supposed to. It doesn't change their performance, doesn't make them any better. If they got it, they got it. Yeah, actually, mine and Damien birds are very similar. They're definitely different because they were bred a little bit different. Steve Smith used a different technique than Damien did, but very similar because they used like brothers and sisters from the same family, and then very, very close relatives to the birds I started with. Danny, right now my birds aren't really molting because they're young birds. They were born right in the middle of the year, which would cause them to skip the molt. There's probably one or two that are molting that were born in March. I think March or April, somewhere in there. And they're the two oldest ones. Actually, I think it was June when they were hatched. So they're the only two molting. And then, but as far as the molt, there is certain things I give my birds in their water and food, which helps them go through the molt a little bit faster than normal. Yeah, Mike Parker, that means your birds are true to the blood, because if you pay attention, Norm Reed and Jerry didn't really have any ball heads. They had maybe one or two here and there. I know Jerry Higgins and Reed both had a lot of badges and mixed wings. So my birds, I get no baldies, no badges, pretty much no color bird. And that's due to the direction that my birds are bred. But there's also that goes a lot into breeding that we could sit here and talk for hours. But, you know, I'm just trying my techniques and doing what I do. And then hopefully what I do works for me, and then maybe I can compete with my beliefs and then see what my beliefs can do for me as far as the birds performing. The difference in length between the wing and feather, you really can't go based off of that, but my birds are not long casted. They are medium in their proportion. But for any bird, whether it's big or small, the tail and the flights should not be longer than one another, because that means you have a off proportion pigeon. If the tail is shorter than the flights, is off proportion. If the tail is longer than the flights, then it's off proportion. You gotta have a balance. But there's no set way. I can't tell you a half an inch or a 3/4 inch, whatever you guys go into measurements and all that stuff. That really has nothing to do with the bird, because every bird is different. So if you have a medium-sized bird, there's a certain amount of length you want on it. But as you can see right there, my bird's tail and flight feathers pretty much line up with each other like you want it to, because the bird has to be compact enough to be able to turn into a little ball when they're rolling. But like I said, that's breeding. We could sit here for hours and talk about that kind of stuff. Also, I'm no scientist or professional, so I really can't tell you uh, what you're supposed to be looking for. I just know what I'm supposed to be looking for in my birds, pretty much. That's pretty good, Mike Parker. That means you got sounds like you got the blood true to the Reed and Higgins birds. But like I said, once you go back into the history, once you understand that kind of stuff, you'll know why you're getting those colors. I know somewhat of the Reed and Jerry background because obviously I did study it all because my birds go back to it. So just because I wanted to understand a little bit more of why what was what is why I know a little bit about the birds. But like I said, I hate to really get into that side of the birds because unless you understand what you're looking at, like the birds and the pedigrees and stuff like that, there's really no reason in us talking about pedigrees and stuff. It just makes it hard. And then I think talking about pedigrees confuses a lot of people. And then you can guide people in the wrong direction because then they hear us talking about numbers and pedigrees and then they go try to get it and it's just not the same, you know? No, I don't use any drone when training my birds to escape. It's either they get away or they don't. This is all part of the flying pigeons situation. You gotta get used to the predator. You gotta know how to fly your birds, when to fly your birds. It's all pretty much just having a good guesstimation of when to do certain things. These birds, I trained them at midday, like in 100-degree weather, because one thing I do know about the falcon is that the falcon overheats really fast. So the falcon itself does not like to hunt in the middle of the heat. So that's why I was training these birds midday, even though I was hot myself. It's something I had to go through to help the birds get to where they're at today. Because if I was training early morning like I am right now every day, they probably all wouldn't be here. The hawks would know exactly where I'm at and they would come wait for me every morning, pretty much. This is another reason why you want your birds to kind of hang out when they land. You just want them to hang out, look around, feel comfortable. You guys see that? There was two little birds that flew by and that little bird got spooked. So all these little things they learn. They learn that they shouldn't be scared of the birds, like the little ones, and then they start understanding what a crow is, stuff like that. So many different things, so many different aspects of training birds. My young birds fly between 30 minutes and an hour, depending on how I feed them the day before. Like yesterday, I fed them enough to be ready to fly this morning and not fly too long because I knew I had to be at work today. So I didn't want them flying for an hour. But yeah, my young birds, I like them to fly for about 45 minutes. Once they start swinging and rolling and working together, I like them to fly between 25 and 30 minutes. But that's after like maybe 6 to 8 months of age is when I'll start cutting back their flight time. When they're young birds, you don't really want to cut nothing back on them as they're still developing, and you don't want to stunt their growth. Yes, I do mix my kit birds. They stay mixed until the cock birds go into a mature mode. Then they get separated. But when I'm training spinners, birds that are complete performers, they stay in the same kit, hens and cocks. Because when you have a team that's in performance mode to breed, they don't even have the energy to breed due to the way they're fed and stuff like that. But we'll get more into that kind of stuff once I have the show you guys what I'm talking about. Because I have done it before and I understand what it takes to do it. So I would have to have the birds again so I could show you guys, which will eventually be these birds. I'll be able to show you that with. Make sure, guys, when you guys feed your birds, there's no droppings on the tray, because then your birds are pretty much eating off each other's droppings, and that alone to make them feel sick in the stomach. Stefan, I could possibly to help you out. I could probably, the guy my birds with, which is Steve Smith. I really don't have anything for sale or anything to even give away. But I got birds from, maybe you can get some birds from him, and then you can get a nice good start. There's a pretty good amount of peas in there and safflower. Safflower is really important for the molt. No, I don't feed them black sunflower. I only feed four kind of grains, which is peas, milo, wheat, safflower, and then sometimes they'll get a little bit of a different mixture when I'm flying competition. Also, you guys want to make sure you guys feed your birds handful at a time. It helps them disperse the feed within each other. It could take you a little bit longer to feed your birds, but if you care about your birds all being on the same page, then it's best to feed them all a handful at a time. This particular group has been out about maybe 15 times. The original 7, they were out about 10, 11 times, and then I added the younger group, which was the second out of the same pairings. So total they've been in the air maybe about 15, 16 days. I kind of been training my birds, just kind of enjoying without having to film everything. But I did have a few guys ask me how the birds were doing and if they started kidding yet. So that's why I figured I'd show you guys real quick where they're at. So in the next few days, I want to say within the next 2 weeks maybe, hopefully they're all kidding real nice. And then I'll start flying them every other day so I can take them out of harm's way. Hopefully I can keep most of them for next year. Thanks, Danny. I appreciate it. Hey, what's up, Manny from India? I appreciate you, man. You're way on the other side of the world. I appreciate you coming on the live video and watching the birds. All right, guys, so I'm gonna finish calling the rest of these guys in. I'll keep you guys updated on the next video, and hope you guys' birds are doing good also.